So we're going to be talking about CARnage 2, the sequel to the CARnage digital STL offering. We're reaching out to STL cars and other minis games. All right. So
feel free to share this link via social media. They want people to sign up on the link to receive.
So what we'll do is I'll do the introduction. Hey there, folks. Chuck here. Had them on to talk about Car Wars. It's a sequel to a Kickstarter that they had before. All right. I think I got this. So, right. In 3, 2... Hey there, folks. Chuck here, and welcome to a very special edition of something. I don't know what this is. This isn't Diecast Breakdown, but it's not a Flying Valiant builds either. So this is something new that we're trying, and I'm joined by my Diecast Breakdown co-host, Mr. David Johns. David, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Chuck. Can't wait for you to explain what we're doing here tonight.
It's really different, and I'm really excited about this. Some of you who follow the show may remember that a while ago we had some folks from Steve Jackson Games. We had Randy and Jimmy on to talk about their game Car Wars. And Car Wars has been around since the early 1980s. And in the early 2000s, it became 1/64 scale. So you could take your Hot Wheels and Matchbox and whatever cars and turn them into playable pieces in this post-apocalyptic Mad Max world. So, like that other game that we weren't going to talk about on this video. They did kind of a relaunch a few years ago, and it's apparently going well. And they had a expansion pack, you could say, for people who wanted to 3D print their own cars. And it was called CARnage. And this is going to be CARnage 2. This is the sequel to that. So folks are going to be funding on Kickstarter this new series of, they're called STL files, that are used in 3D printing, especially for stuff like this. It would be resin printing to print your own cars, but more importantly, your own accessories. So scenery, armor, weapons, that sort of thing. So really cool stuff. And they reached out to us. So this is, kind of a promoted, sponsored sort of thing, full disclosure. But they reached out to David and I and asked if we'd be interested in receiving some physical versions of the STL files. People are going to be getting just the STL files to print. So they printed up some for us and asked if we would want to try painting them and talk about the process. So, me, I like doing a good weathered build, and, David's dipping his toe into customs as well. So we're going to take a look. We haven't really gotten a chance to look at these yet. So we're going to take a look in the box, see what we got, and we're going to talk about what we're going to do with them. So, David, are you ready?
I'm ready. This is going to be this will be a new experience for me and a lot of you collectors that we have talked to, especially the feedback after that episode with Jimmy and Randy. We're really interested in the whole idea of using your cards in a gaming scenario. Something I've never done. I'm a noob right there with you. I'm going to learn. Chuck is going to show us the way, but I'm excited because, Chuck, we got invited to do this. We're going to give people a sneak peek at this really cool new product that's going to be rolling out soon. And we want you to get on board. We want you guys to see it before anybody else does. So, Chuck, I'm ready. Let's dig in. Right. I want to see what this is all about.
All right. We're opening our boxes.
And we are literally opening our boxes here. This is the first time we have seen what we're
I opened mine because I wasn't sure who it was from, and then I saw the letterhead that says Steve Jackson on it, and I was like, oh, I need to wait. So
go back in there.
Yeah, so let's see.
Okay.
Chuck.
All right. I see some cool stuff.
Hello, and thank you again for participating in the CARnage 2 Influencer Program. Look at that, David. We're influencers, finally. The package contains one of the 2 new cars and one of the 2 new wrecks, plus 2 dismounted crew members, driver and gunner, and 2 super fans. These are the gung-ho fans who have purchased special arena tickets that allow them to shoot at the foes of the cars they support. Ooh.
Oh, okay.
The rules for super fans are in the Car Wars Companion. Please note that I have left the figures in their supports for protection during shipping. And you'll also want to clean up the cars and wrecks a bit with a file before you paint them. So, David, there's a little
Good
checkbox on these. So mine says that my kit contains the meteor and a wrecked boom slang. I have a crew of a healthy female and an injured male. And I've got super fans Billy Bob and Mimi.
Well, that's very well done by Katie over at Steve Jackson Games. Chuck, I have every opposite box checked. I have the I guess I got the Empire to your Rebels, if you will.
Nice.
So yes, I've got Boomslang. I've got a wrecked meteor, opposite of what you had. And my super fans are Angela and Esteban.
Very nice. So
there.
I guess they're in here.
This is one of my super fans. Apparently this is either Angela or Esteban, who is going to be shooting at Chuck's, Boomslang.
I guess. Well, no, I've got the meteor and a wrecked boomslang. So
okay.
I've got.
I'm sorry.
I will assume that
I'll be shooting at the meteor.
I will assume from the figure shape that this is Mimi here.
This might be Esteban right here, and let's see if I can. These are really well printed pieces. Actually, when we clean these up and paint them, they're going to be pretty sharp.
All right. So, David, the trick with 3D printed files is these supports, they're very brittle. So you can really just go along with your fingernail and just kind of pop those off. Be very careful around the gun area here, up here, that there's like this one's holding a little pistol. That would be a very tricky area. You might want to use a hobby knife or something like that.
Yeah. Maybe an X-Acto. I got you.
All right.
So, guys, let's just to clarify, we're going to look at the unfinished products on this video. Chuck and I are probably going to take some time to do the painting and weathering, and then we'll put together a little bit of additional video at the end of this.
There's Billy Bob. He's not wearing a shirt. He's got a beer gut. He's got.
So this is going to be your crew. That's what you're referring to.
So these are the super fans that are out there making pew pew at the cars as they drive by. So what you'll be seeing as we go is us as we go through these, and I'm going to be doing some weathering and painting, and David's going to be joining along with me. Oh, look at this. This is the meteor. So that's very cool. So it looks like kind of a 1930s, early 40s, kind of a Lincoln type thing, very low slung, almost a steampunky look to it. It's got the cannon on top. So that's a solid piece. That's just kind of pointing in one direction. We got some cannons on the front that look like they got some kind of acid assist or some kind of canisters. You got rear facing projectiles. So that's very nice print as well.
So let's counter that with the wrecked version of Chuck's car. Here's the wrecked meteor, which came in my package. And remember, you're not getting printed pieces when you order this. You're going to get the
you're getting the STL file, so you would print these yourself, which, there's never been a better time to try 3D printing. The cost has come way down on it. There is still a significant learning curve, but there's tons of support out there.
So let's look real quick at the Boomslang. You've got the wreck version. I'll show the clean version first. And you'll have to tell me what you think this is based off of, Chuck.
Well, it's going to be tough for me because I think it says that my Boomslang is on its roof. Oh, no, it isn't. It says Boomslang. Oh, and its roof. Okay.
So I'm really digging the 5 spokes. I'm digging like a 50 cal on the side on the doors.
Yeah. So there's mine. Mine's got like broken glass all over it or something.
Oh, so mine had its roof ripped off by your crew or your super fans.
Yeah. So, I think that's what, this piece here is. This looks like, part of a cannon type assembly. Very interesting. Got two other figures. So these would be healthy female and injured male. So,
oh, you've got I've got an injured female. How do you know which one is injured?
Well, I'm assuming this little guy holding his arm is injured. Because I don't usually walk around holding my arm like that unless I've really done something to it. So,
oh yeah, my girl's hurting.
Yep.
She is wrenched in pain. Okay. Man, there's a lot of detail in this scale.
For some of these, it might be a good idea to submerge them in some very warm water as well before trying to take out the supports. That helps loosen them up some. So you're less likely to find a weird stress crack in there. So I've got this must be healthy female here. This is either healthy female or Mimi, but she's definitely loaded for bear there.
All right. And I'll tell you, if people go to the link in the comments of this video or the description, you can actually see some color images of the pieces that Chuck and I have.
Yep.
Some of the characters already painted up, get an idea. There's the boom slang.
Yeah.
And the crashed boom slang. You can tell they put a lot of thought into this, Chuck.
I agree.
Very creative. Yeah. Tell me, a noob, how are you going to start painting?
The first thing you're really going to want to do is go around, make sure that there aren't any excess support things. So you'll see on the bottom of your car, there's a bunch of little nubs. So that's where the support was on this car that's been broken off. So depending on what you want to do with the underside of your car, you probably want to, file that down, smooth that down a little bit with some coarse sandpaper. You'd be like a 220 grit sandpaper, maybe an emery board. Make sure those areas are smooth. And like I said, with the figures, I like to submerge them in just hot sink water for a little bit, few minutes to kind of loosen up these little nubs, and they should snap clean pretty easily. So after that, we're going to want to go on to, it doesn't matter that much. So a lot of people like to use Tamiya primer for projects like this. I use a couple of different versions of primer from AK Interactive and Vallejo. We're going to treat it basically like a diecast custom. So whatever primer you usually use, especially though with these, you want to make sure it's very light, just enough to cover stuff, because the details get lost on these guys really quick. And then we should be in good shape to start with the painting process. Do you have any ideas in mind for what you're going to do with your figures and your cars, David? Any color schemes that spring to mind?
Well, I'll tell you, Chuck. Here's what I like to do. Sometimes I've been accused of being bougie or posh. So what if, in my post-apocalyptic vision, a group, a clan, a band has risen to power, and they're not satisfied with their stuff looking like junk. Now, we know that they're working with what they got. They are very savvy. They're as industrious as any warmongering group out there, but they do have style. So we're going to put a little bit of Twice Diecast stink on this and make it a little bit clean, a little classy in the post-apocalyptic.
So
how about you, Chuck? What are you thinking?
There's my little injured guy. I busted him free already. Those supports are coming off very easy, so that's good.
Awesome.
So, you know me, I'm rusty, crusty, down and dirty, so I think that's going to fit the bill for what I do with my stuff. I'm thinking probably a red, orange, yellow paint scheme, since that's my go-to. So doing the little tricolors. But it's funny. This one actually really reminds me of a crack up. One of the crack ups that had a flipped, it had kind of a domed roof and it flipped and had a lot of broken glass on it. So I'm very interested in doing this one because it's got shards of glass. So it's going to be interesting to paint for sure. But yeah, I think that's going to be how my team is going to be decked out. I'll do lots of dirt and dust and rust, and find ways to mix red, orange, and yellow in there as my go-to color scheme. But yeah, I'm really excited about this, especially that meteor. That meteor is cool, and yeah. So you've got the wrecked meteor. That's even more fun. So David, what we're going to be doing, because I don't think you haven't really done a weathered build yet, have you?
I haven't. There are so many boxes that I am checking on this project, Chuck. I will be hitting you up for that.
Well, there are a few ways you can go about doing this. I've got a few examples of weathering options, because I also collect weathering kits as an option. Now, there are, we're going to talk about some of the fancier ones. We're going to talk about some of the less fancier ones. We're going to start with the easiest way out there, and that's you go down to that there Dollar Tree and you pick up some stuff like this. This is some eyeshadow.
Been down the makeup aisle.
You've got some nice dark browns, some burnt sienna. You got some lighter colors in there, and a little applicator, all for $1.25. And this one you might want to watch out for, because it might have some metallics in there. So, but you can get these other ones. These are also things that you can find at the Dollar Tree, and you look for the ones that don't have metallic in them. So you want ones like that, unless you're going for some kind of metallic tinting. Sometimes what's really cool is you can take ones like this, and you can use those blues, those reds to make burnt metal effects. Yeah. And again, at the Dollar Tree, there's also things that you can use like makeup pencils, because they have a very soft, it's not really lead, but the center of the pencil is very soft. So it's very easy to take that and smear it on something and rub it around. There's also watercolor pencils that you can get that are a really handy way to do weathering, because what they do is it's a pencil that you then, as you get it wet, the pigments leak like a watercolor, and you can use that in a stippling brush to get some really cool effects. And we'll talk a bit about that. There are people use chalks to get their pigments. You want to watch out and not get one that's an oil pastel, because the oil pastels are very greasy. You can use them, but I do find that the finish is very hard to control. What you do is you take a regular. Here's a more this soft pastels here. These are non-oil based, and so what you would do is you take some sandpaper and you rub them on the sandpaper, and you use a paintbrush and you can dab them on. Now, if you're feeling really froggy, you can go to your local hobby store chain. That big popular one sells these. And these are called Tamiya Weathering Masters powders. And you can find them on the model car aisle, usually with the military stuff. So there's two that I really like, and that's the C pack and the A pack. And you can find those. Usually both of them are sold in the stores. So this one you get rust, gunmetal, silver, sand, light sand, and mud. And these kits are really cool. They come with an applicator and a little brush, and you just kind of rub the applicator on here, and then you rub it on the surface that you want to have made rusty. You can see a lot of my builds, I use that as a very quick and easy way to get that done. There's other tools that we're going to be talking about during this, doing washes. You can use something like a panel liner. This is from Tamiya. That's really good. You can also, a lot of gaming stores, tabletop game stores will sell Citadel paints, which is Games Workshop stuff. Nuln Oil is a very popular black wash that a lot of people use as a shade type tool. And there's other really fancy tools out there that fancy things called filters that I really like. This one's from MIG. It's relatively new, and it's a dirt filter. I've used it on a few builds. You can kind of see the residue of it. It creates this really nice, nasty, filmy thing that looks like dirt buildup. So there's a lot of ways we can take this. And I think, David, with yours doing yours more pristine, but having a little bit of subtle weathering from like dirt and dust on the underside of the car, it's going to look really cool.
Now, one thing we didn't talk about, Chuck, do I clear coat the paint before I start weathering?
Very good question. And the answer to that will be yes. You do want to have some sort of clear coat. It's essentially putting a save file on your vehicle. So when you do the paint and you put a clear coat on top, first of all, it's good to have a smoother clear coat like a satin or a gloss, because if you're doing washes, you want them to be able to run smoothly off and into those little nooks and crannies to really get that depth. And also it's great because if you mess up, whatever you're putting on top is mixing more with the clear coat and not with the paint underneath it. So it's not going to damage the paint underneath it if you have to wipe it off and start over.
I've always admired on your builds, tires, the black on the tires looks different than black on anywhere else on the car. How do you get that worn rubber effect so that it doesn't look like plastic black wheels?
Well, I say this a lot in my builds. Nothing in reality is really pure white and nothing is really pure black. Tires are something that a lot of people just go, oh, well, tires are black. Well, they aren't really. You're actually looking at something that would be a dark brown, sometimes almost a greenish hint to it with tires. So for tires, you really want to go a lot lighter than you think you would normally want to go, especially on a small scale like these, because the smaller the scale, the more pigment stands out. A little pigment goes a long way when your tires are the size of your fingernail. So you want to go with thinking about, look at tires around you, like tires, especially on older cars that actually have a much lighter hue to them than you think of. They're going to be kind of a grayish color. They're going to be a grayish brown. And again, I sometimes like to throw just a little green in there too, to add a little bit of that more organic rubbery look to it. And, there actually is a Vallejo paint called Tire Black that is kind of similar to that has that kind of almost olive color to it. And you can do it that way, or you can just mix your paints yourself. If you're somebody who likes to mix your own colors, that's another great way to do it, because you can also make it so that no two cars have the same color tires, and that's also reflective of reality.
Yep.
Cars have tires that wear differently. Different brands have different hints of, pigment to them. So, the big thing for me is remembering to go lighter than you think you're going to need, and to go grayer or more off of the true color than you think it's going to be, because things fade, things get sun bleached. Sun bleach is kind of an almost yellowy green pigment that gets added to stuff. There's a lot of ways out there to do weathering. I have a list of weathering steps that I made a while back, and it is 51 steps long. So everything from gathering reference materials, which is something that a lot of people overlook too, is find reference materials. One of the best things that we have as model builders is the access to Pinterest, and being able to go in there and find a ton of really great car photos and look at the colors of what things actually are, as opposed to what you think they are in your head. Well, weathering is a very hard thing to do blind. It's very good to have a reference photo handy to go, okay, how does dirt and mud gather on a mud buggy truck? Or how does rust on a desert faded vehicle look, as opposed to a vehicle that would be in the deep south and be rusty? So there's a lot of benefit in having. Sometimes I'll even print out a picture of the car that I want to use as reference, so I can kind of follow along with, where on that car is there weathering, where is it damaged, and go from there. So, there's no shame in ripping off reference material. So,
Chuck, do we know the location, the locale of this world that we are going to be battling in?
This world is set on the late great planet Earth. I don't remember the exact year. I think Randy and Jimmy talk about it being like 50, 60 years in the future from now.
Right.
Which is a convenient way to stay ahead of the game, because there was a game that came out before this that used a similar premise that said in the post-apocalyptic wastelands of 1997. So, yeah.
Don't want to paint yourself in a corner.
Exactly. So anyway, well, I'm going to start getting to cleaning these guys up. And, David, when we meet again, I think we should have these guys primed and painted with our base colors. And then we can talk about the weathering effects and what we're going to do to them. And maybe we'll do a bit on camera while we're working. So
sounds good to me. I will look forward to it. I'll get to cleaning up my pieces, and you guys stick around. We will be back with some actual footage of some cars getting detailed and weathered. And
I can't stop.
Sharing this with you.
It's like having, those pop,
yep. I know
pop packs. Like once you start busting the bubble wrap, once you start popping supports, it's very hard to stop. So I'm trying not to look down too much as I fidget with these things. All right. That's it for today. Again, we want to thank you for joining us. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. And if you want to join our patron ranks, you can visit diecastmedianetwork.com and follow the link there. And stick around. Check out some of the other videos. We've got a lot of really great interviews. Check out that interview we did with Jimmy and Randy. It's a lot of fun. And we're going to come back to you soon with some painted figures and talk about the experience. So until next time, stay fresh, cheese bags.